Why isn't the stock market crashing, and when will it crash again? That are the questions that we are discussing in this video. But before we are starting, you could do me a huge favor if you would subscribe to this channel, because I put out a valuable video every week and this way you won't miss it. Now let's get started with the question of why the stock market hasn't crashed. Maybe you saw my last video in that I also talked a little about that topic. And a very important topic is, of course, the Federal Reserve, the money printing, and the inflation. And don't worry if right now you don't know exactly what all this has to do with the markets or why this is telling us what happened and will happen in the future. Let's start with the first point, and that is that the Federal Reserve is printing money like there is no tomorrow. And with this money printing that they are doing, they are extremely supporting the stock market and asset prices. Now you're maybe asking yourself if they can go on printing money forever. And to answer this question, we have to dive into the next point, which is inflation. I also did a couple of videos on that topic. You can all find them on my YouTube channel. So if you are interested in this, then I would recommend you to also watch them. And now, before I can explain the inflation point to you, I have to quickly open Paint. So now we are in Paint, and as you are maybe already knew, there is always inflation, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Sometimes, of course, even there is also negative inflation, but over time there is constant inflation. And now you're probably wondering, how much has the inflation grown since the Federal Reserve is printing this much money? And the answer will surprise you, because the inflation is not growing or rising very much. And that is also why the Fed can continue printing money. Because if inflation keeps stable, they are doing a good job. That is what they would say about themselves. But this is really their job, to keep inflation stable. And the only reason that they would have to stop printing money is when inflation is picking up and becoming too high. That is when they have to stop printing money. And then almost in every case, they are pulling money out of the market. You already know what has happened or is happening right now when they are putting money in the market. Now I guess you also can imagine what will happen when they are pulling money out of the market. Now the big question is, why inflation isn't picking up, and when will this happen? There are only two logical reasons to me why inflation isn't picking up till now. I already quickly mentioned them in my last video. The first one is that the official inflation is a lie. It is calculated to look good, but it is definitely not real. And the second reason is that even if the Fed is printing so much money, and we are talking about trillions and trillions of dollars, then inflation would hit the economy, and you would notice that even if the inflation is calculated to look good. And the only logical reason to me why this hasn't happened yet is that the money that the Fed is printing is not going to the average people that would go out and spend it. Most of the money is going into stock market and asset prices, and there you see huge price increases, but not in the real economy. And as long as that didn't happen, the Fed can print more money, and most likely they will do that. But right now we are seeing that inflation is start to picking up slowly, and you also can see that here in the bond price. This right here is the TLT Treasury bond, and when inflation is starting to pick up, the bond price is falling, and that is exactly what we are seeing right now. So inflation right now is starting to pick up, and also there is another reason what is happening right now. As I showed you in some of my last videos, the amount of the new stock market accounts is rising dramatically. I will fade in the picture here from the statistic that I saw, and in this picture you can see that the mass is coming in and want to invest into the stock market. But the last time I showed you this, I didn't include the sentiment of the average investors, and that is something really important. So it looks like that many of them were not going to buy stocks. Most of them were shorting stocks because they are thinking that the market has to crash soon. But if everybody is expecting that the market drops again, then most likely this will not happen. I also have a statistic for you on the sentiment, and in this statistic you can see that right now 30% are bullish, 28.8% are neutral, and still 42.1% are bearish. But if we look at the weekly change, we can see that the number of people that are changing now from neutral or bearish to bullish, you can see here in the last week plus 7.6%. No, that's the other way, sorry. That is plus 6.7%. So since the last week, 6.7% have become bullish, and there are minus 1.3% that are neutral and minus 5.5% that were bearish. So this seems to turn around now. This doesn't have to mean that the next crash is starting in the next week. That just means that now most likely we will start a very hot stage in the market. Most likely this will continue, so the inflation will pick up more and the bullish sentiment will also rise more. And in the beginning, this, as I said, lead to a very hot market stage where prices are increasing, most likely very irrational, maybe even more than right now. And then when the inflation has picked up too much and most people are bullish, then most likely we will see the next big correction. When exactly this will happen, we don't know, but I watched the last circles and most likely this will take between 1 and 12 months. That means that now we have to be patient, we have to closely watch the market, be extreme careful, but also we have to remember in this market stage there is a lot of money to be made. That is just in connection with huge risk. So if you want to trade this market or invest in this market, then I only can recommend you to be very, very careful and take care of your money and don't take risks that are not worth it. And that is exactly what I will do. Of course, if there should be relevant changes, then I will upload a video on that. So that is why I really recommend you to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell that you don't miss out on the future updates in the stock market as well as on the crypto market. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, then it would be very nice if you give this video a like. If you have any questions about that topic, then also feel free to write that down in the comments. That's it for this video. See you in the next one, and as always, have a nice day.